Okay, so today, this time, instead of talking about historical events like invasions and whatnot, I'm going to be ranting about human migration. Like Columbus's voyages, he got approval from Spain. Columbus's voyages to the New World were great and all. And the Vikings were not in England. The Vikings went to Iceland. It was had a bunch of ice, so they called it Iceland. And then when they discovered the southern Greenland, they wanted to name it Greenland to make people go there. And I get when you have no money and you got tricked into going somewhere, then you can't really move out. You have to make do with what you have. But and also evolution and whatnot can help you be used to cold temperatures. But I feel like we're overestimating the human will to want to move to some of these places. Like, you're telling me when the Bering Land Bridge over here happened, that it was cold enough to make that go down like a bunch of feet. I don't remember. I remember looking it up before. I just don't remember how much it went down. And then humans went north, followed animals over and then down. But the animals have to eat plants. And here was so flat with mountains over here that the rain or precipitation, which would bring snow, just gets stopped by the mountains. So in other words, there's no snow to protect any stuff like grass or whatever the elk and eat up here. I forget what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's lichen, though. Like, the lichen needs to be under snow so the snow can provide insulation to it. But there wouldn't be enough snow to provide enough insulation, so I feel like the animals would have a hard time getting over it. And then even if they got to Alaska, there's mountains like all here. And like mountains are hard to go over top of. And you might say, well, what if they went by sea? Like, they can only fish between this like entire coast there. Like, yes, I get Polynesians went across the Pacific directly, which is very plausible. But I feel like if one small tribe went over here, they'd probably start to die from starvation before they got past some of the Rockies. And then there's the Inuit in Greenland. It is cold. Here is literally barren nowadays because it's all just like rock and snow. And it would have been even more barren. How did they convince themselves to go over there? All there are there is seals and polar bears. Maybe they did a fishing expedition or something and got lost. That's how the Vikings found Finland over here. But still, it's too cold for humans to live. And we know that, we're pretty sure that we know that most humans didn't have that much hair, so they just had to use like bear skins and stuff. But I feel like then their feet would have frozen over and their hands as well. Like, especially since they have to like try and also I feel like human migration, like them going over there, like once they like this is I know nomads, like they would pick up their entire tribe and move, so it wouldn't be like early in some civilizations where the woman would stay at the house. I don't know why I'm circling anywhere. Would just stay at the house. And then the man would go off hunting. But nomads kind of just picked up everything and moved. But I feel like their main form of, they used horses like over on the steppe or like the Great Eurasian plains that are like plains, savanna, also savanna, probably desert there. Like, there are a lot of plains over here and there are plains over there as well. There are plains down here and there's this jungle over here. But like, those areas are more habitable, but I feel like why and how did the traders with a D, like, and get the Silk Road and stuff, and camels being able to travel long distances? But I feel like if they came out of Africa, managed to probably just stuck by the Nile River, which goes like way down there, got here, crossed here, and then just found a big desert. Like, I get wells and stuff, but how did like cavemen find out that they could just dig a pit in the ground and there would be water? Like, tell that to like some random person would be like, it'd be like, huh? It comes from the sky. Like, it just wouldn't make sense to them. Like, how did they manage to live here? Like, you're not gonna try and convince me that some random hole in the desert popped up out of nowhere that then got water in it, and the ancient peoples didn't just believe that it was placed there by some being on a higher plane of existence. Like, you're not, like, I don't feel like they would just find an oasis and be like, this came from the ground. Like, now we know it did, because the oceans can go into the ground. Well, the aquifers and stuff are like everywhere. But like, how did they know that before? Like, they can figure out how well animals can find water, but I feel like it would be a struggle for them to find water. So I feel like them getting up here would be hard. And then them being able to dig a well in the first place. Like, nowadays we have entire like drills that are like really big that we use, entire systems. They just had like their hands in a couple rocks, like, and they didn't have enough support structures. Probably didn't have enough support structures either. So like, how big of a like pit would they have to have dug to be able to do that? Like, just doesn't make very much sense. And another thing, like, how did the ancient peoples decide to live here? I went to Arizona once, and the only water you could see for literally the entire horizon was because of an aquifer. Like, if there was enough ground for wells, they would have just used wells. But then again, farming kind of has to exist. It was just really flat. I don't think I saw a single thing of wildlife that you would have been able to eat in the entire time I was there. Like, what big creatures live in that area, in this area here, that you could possibly hunt for food? And you might say farming. Well, how did they dig a deep enough well to get to the aquifers? And then how did they get that water out of the well? They had no pumps in ancient America. How did they migrate there? How did people migrate there and then not just die? Like, I get preparing to migrate somewhere and then migrating. But, like, it's gonna take a long time. And if just, like, one tribe goes, they're probably all gonna die of hunger because I feel like not that many creatures are gonna be able to do that. Like, yes, the woolly mammoth exists, but you gotta think, how far are these people willing to go to get them? Just wait, just like go there and then come back. Like, simple as that. But if they stay there, they're probably just gonna die because I feel like the human evolution, they probably didn't evolve. Probably just wore thicker coats, which, yes, would have been available because of that creatures would have evolved to have the thicker coats, but, like, I feel like the humans would just, like, get those thicker coats and then, like, choose to not live in this wasteland where they only come by a woolly mammoth every once in a while. They'd have to just, like, be, like, at most, like, here, since it's a lot colder in this freezing area. Probably be more like down here. I don't know. Like this, it's like the Alps. Not the Alps, can't think of it. And then, like, everywhere else is, like, habitable. Like, they might just be on, like, the cusp of habitability, I feel like. But then everywhere, and also, how do you treat? I don't know. I don't understand how they treat their wounds up here, how the Inuit treat their wounds. Because to be able to get to the wound, you have to pretty much freeze the wound off. It just doesn't make very much sense to me. Like, I get they have enough coats to survive a while. But it's like, how are you gonna get to the wound through your thick coats without making the wound freeze? I just don't understand how people live there. Like, I get your family all lives there or something. It looks cool. But that looking cool feature thing won't last forever. You'll get bored of it and then you'll just want to move out. You might move to somewhere that's still cold, like, I don't know, maybe northern Canada or something. That, or just move back to northern Denmark or maybe Iceland or something. Like, it would still look good and it would still feel like good, like, stuff. Like, yeah. I feel like no one lives on this island. other than a couple researchers maybe. That's probably mainly because it's so far away from everything. And then you're telling me scientists found random remains at here or here on these islands, which are like at the same latitude. No one migrates here for a reason, and I feel like that would have been the same thing for the ancient peoples over here. I feel like they just went there every once in a while and buried bones. I don't feel like an actual society would put their base on a random Siberian island. It just doesn't make any sense. And back to these people. Like, they would probably just go up, try to find woolly mammoths, like over there or something. Probably a lot less. Go back and find their people. Because, like, taking your entire tribe to such a hostile environment probably wouldn't have been very smart of an idea. Instead, send, like, a team to go out. Instead of risking your entire tribe, just risk a couple people of your tribe. And, like, wow, how did they transport their babies? They had babies. How did they transport them all the way around? And, like, just think of going... I'm not even going to say that. I don't want to get demonetized. But, like, transporting an entire tribe of babies over the cold tundra and mountains just doesn't seem plausible. And, like, the Polynesians, like, they have, like, a couple people. But then it's, like, it's your own family. Might be, like, one family goes there, and it's gonna be like a family dating a family. Just don't understand how it worked, I guess. But if maybe they had like two families, and then it worked somehow. That or they just had like a bunch of ships going off into the same direction. I'm just thinking of like a picture with like one ship, but there were probably like an entire fleet of people going to like one island, say Hawaii or something, and then setting up base. Like, Hawaii is a beautiful island. But Greenland, however, it might be the biggest island in the world, and its size is really just skewed because of the Mercator projection. It looks like it's like bigger than the east coast of the United States, but it really isn't, and it looks like it's way like really wide. It really isn't. It's more like just it's more like that big. I know it's not accurate, but you can look it up. Because the Mercator projection shows all the things in the north and the south way bigger than they actually are. What else? And like, how did peoples back then be able to put expenses to killing each other up here? Like, that would just be death to like a bunch of people, and then the rest of the tribe would die because a bunch of other people died. It's probably like really fragile to live and stuff. Like, maybe an invasion might have expedited the process of people moving. I don't know, but probably. Maybe they just set sail, got to Hawaii, and then other people set sail. I feel like going from that, or they would just went like, let's fish. Fishes, loses track of where they are, like a fleet of them or something, trying to find a better home, and finds America. But I feel like it's just, I guess like a fleet could start there, and then they could move out. I mean, the human spirit is pretty indomitable, but I feel like going over here, just you wouldn't be able to find enough food to be able to have like an entire like bunch of families be able to move there without all of them starving and then being cannibals. Like, maybe they're cannibalistic, but then again, their cannibalistic behaviors wouldn't be able to survive all the way from here, getting all the way to South America. Maybe it was just the fact that the jungle was so harsh and stuff. Like, there are resources in the jungle that you can use to live. That's probably why they started to live there. But what in the sand what sand are you gonna find that's so valuable to live over here? Like, I get living on the coast, and maybe now you're able to make an actual well and live in the desert sand, and it's just more comfortable. But like, maybe you have like a herd of camels or something. I don't know. Someone else can probably tell me what they do there. But I feel like human migration just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I get that that's on Ireland. The British forced a bunch of prisoners to Australia, and apparently the original people of Australia exist, and New Zealand. But then again, Polynesia makes more sense because it's like them going over the Bering Strait. I don't know. I just don't think the Bering Strait theory has that much plausible evidence. And also, I feel like a lot of things in ancient times were like, this thing is unexplainable. How are we going to explain it? Say it's something that on a higher plane of existence. That's how we'll explain it. And they just did that over and over again, like all over the place. And then there's entire wars of religion and stuff. Trying to not make this channel too religious, so what else to talk about? I've ranted for this for longer, but then again, I got religious when I ranted about it for longer. Resources, Ottoman Empire blocking trade from Europe, so they had to go around. And then when they went around, they took slaves. Columbus was like, well, instead of going around here, what if I miscalculated the size of the world and thought that Asia was like over here, so I now flatter some Spanish king, and now I go over here, come back, tell him that there's land over there. Now it's called the East Indies in the east, even though it's actually in the west because he did not circumnavigate the world. And also the African kingdoms were like, well, some African kingdoms would like conquer one people group, and then they would sell them to the Europeans. And then the Europeans were better than the Africans, even though it was Africans selling Africans to the Europeans. Like, the Europeans just took it off with it for no reason. Got them from Africa. Got prisoners of war from Africa. Sold them in the colonies. Many of the colonies. And then exporting the goods back to themselves, making them richer. Or in other words, triangle trade. It looks like a square, but that's only because I'm connecting more than one colony. Triangle trade. From Africa to America to Europe, back to Africa. That's why it's called that. I don't feel like I have much more to say. Okay, bye. Trying to make this video long enough, but